Hello and welcome. We begin with a focus on South Africa, where the ruling African National Congress is reaching out to rivals to form a government of national unity. Top officials of the ANC held initial talks with 5 other parties over a coalition or an agreement, but no decision has been made yet.
Started engagements with political parties in the country. We have been meeting with all parties that are keen to contribute ideas on how we can collectively move our country forward to form a government that ensures national unity and stability in a country that continues the transformation of South Africa and safeguards our constitutional democracy.
South Africa is in an election deadlock after the ANC lost its 30-year majority, but remained the biggest party after the 29th of May vote. The party has ruled South Africa since Nelson Mandela led it to victory in the 1994 elections that marked the end of apartheid. Among those consulted by the ANC were parties with radically different agendas, such as the Democratic Alliance, or the DA, the Economic Freedom Fighters, or the EFF, and the Zulu Nationalist Inkatha Freedom Party, or the IFP. The ANC says it repeatedly reached out to former President Jacob Zuma's MK party, but for now they have refused to talk. It has also said it would not back an ANC-led government if Ramaphosa remains at the helm. MK, which was only established late last year, has rejected the election results and threatened to boycott Parliament.
Officials reported to the National Working Committee that the ANC has repeatedly reached out to the MK party for an engagement meeting with no positive response. Our door remains open as we continue to reach out to every party that is keen to contribute positively to moving our country forward.
The EFF, which supports land redistribution and nationalization of key economic sectors, appeared willing to join. But the opposition and the second largest party, the Democratic Alliance, has set an ultimatum for President Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC. The DA had made it clear it will not join a government with Jacob Zuma's MK party and Julius Malema's EFF. DA's leader, John Steenhuisen, has repeatedly called the ANC-MK-EFF partnership a doomsday coalition and said he was only open to talks to prevent alliance. Now, together, the ANC and the Democratic Alliance hold a comfortable majority in Parliament, but any agreement with the EFF, which won 39 seats, would instead require the support of at least another party.
Our commitment to a national democratic society cannot be changed on the basis of the fact that we have not achieved an outright majority. In the conversations about who we're going to finally go into a coalition with, those will be the key principles that we consider, the kind of policies and a set of policies that those that we go into a government of national unity with will be considered.
Earlier, according to a Daily Maverick report, an internal ANC discussion paper said a unity government was the most inclusive option and would allow the party to avoid choosing a coalition partner that may be unpopular with its base. But the document also said there was a risk such a government would be prone to instability.
The current situation has created some uncertainties and risks, but also opportunities to move the country forward. More determined to tackle the problems its people face. More determined to unite and face the future together as South Africans. The ANC is committed to ensure that we unite the people of South Africa to move our country forward and form a government that reflects the message from the electorate, which is the message that says we must all work together.
Meanwhile, the political uncertainty in the country is also impacting its economy. South Africa's rand currency weakened in volatile trade after the ANC's comments. It weakened further after the Democratic Alliance's ultimatum, reflecting market anxiety. Now, for more on this, we have with us political analyst Mbato Munga, who is joining us live from Johannesburg. Mbato, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, the ANC is reaching out to rivals to form a government of national unity. Now, this is different to forming a coalition. Can you explain what a unity government is and how this will work?
All right. Thank you for the invite and good evening, I suppose, here in South Africa, or afternoon to all the listeners. While a government of national unity at the crux of it just speaks into a coalition between one or more political parties. Now, in a South African context, a government of national unity is not something new. It's not a new political framework within the country, as over the past couple of months, a reference point is often the Government of National Unity that was formed in 1994, and that lasted between 1994 and 1999 between the ANC, the Inkatha Party, as well as the National Party. So even then, the nation and different ministerial posts formulated pretty much, were assumed rather by different leaders of different political parties. But in essence, if I'm going to draw back to the 1994 reference, the main aim of the Government of National Unity there was to promote unity and stability during a time of crisis and national emergency. And given then that there was similar to now, but different context, some form of political uncertainty and instability, this was a way to somewhat mitigate the uncertainty among South Africans as well as the international community. So in this case, 30 years later, South Africa marked 30 years of democracy this year. We find ourselves in a similar position just in terms of talks of government of national unity, of which the fundamental difference, I would say, between the formation of the government of national unity then and here is that in this particular case, it's being formed because no political party has been able to obtain that 50% plus vote, and hence why we're seeing, coalition at national level.
Yes. Now, Mbato, the opposition DA has set an ultimatum saying that they will not join the ANC if they partner with the MK or the EFF parties. How has this ultimatum been received by the ANC?
So it's actually quite mixed. Even today, I've actually been reading and following up some reports of some ANC members who are against and reject the possibility of a coalition between the DA and the ANC. But there are also those who somewhat are willing to embrace it. Now, those who are willing to embrace it, even outside of the DAs, we've heard talks about it will be the most stable. From an economic perspective, it is more likely to appeal to investors and so forth. But those who rejected, one of the key arguments being made there is that it rejects the struggle that South Africa had fought for. Apart from that, it's mainly from an ideological basis. Like you mentioned, the DA said that it will reject and not be willing to enter into a coalition with the ANC if it forms into alliance with the MK and with the EFF. Once again, what this speaks into is a lack of synergy from an ideological perspective. The DA takes a different stance from key issues such as the land issue, migration issue, and so forth. So right now, it's a matter of compromise. To what extent are the political parties willing to compromise in order to forge a way forward?
Right. On that, the ANC has reached out to the MK party with no success. What are your thoughts on the MK party's hard stance on President Cyril Ramaphosa?
So one consistent factor with Jacob Zuma in particular is that even before forming the MK party, he has often referred, since even being leaving, so to speak, the ANC, he's often referred to the ANC as Ramaphosa's ANC. So even now, even with the formation of the MKP, now that the votes have been counted and we know where each political party stands, they still maintain, and this is MKP and Jacob Zuma right now, maintain that we are not willing to negotiate with the ANC as long as Ramaphosa is still there. So one of their conditions is the Ramaphosa resigning. But now, contrary to this, you have the ANC Secretary General, Fikile Mbalula, who said that they are willing to negotiate with any political party as long as Ramaphosa stays in power. So one can arguably say that the possibility of a coalition between the ANC and the MK is caught between a rock and a hard place. The MKP rather, is quite stern on their position that there are no Mbalula and Gwede Mantashe have tried, Mantashe in particular, Gwede Mantashe has reportedly reached out to the MKP twice this week with no avail. So with 2 weeks, because there's a 2 week period in order for these different political parties to make a decision, it will be quite interesting in terms of what the outcome is and possibly a coalition outside of the MKP. But once again, ANC is also in a tough position as on the one hand, there is rejection of a DA-ANC coalition. The MK is not necessarily willing to form a coalition. And with regards to the DA-ANC coalition, numerically speaking, it will secure the ANC more stability, more numbers, especially when it comes to the National Assembly. Yeah. With the MK, probably it will be more palatable and more acceptable to certain ANC members. However, as you can see, there's a lack of synergy and political will, so to speak, from these different political parties that the ANC has to now try and navigate. But on the contrary to that, the ANC, compared to the other political parties, has more options compared to your EFF, compared to your DAs. So it's just a matter of how they choose to navigate and compromise. That's not everyone's going to be happy, regardless of which decision or alliance is formed.
Yeah. Malema, thank you very much for being with us on Firstpost Africa and for your valued analysis there.
Thank you.
Firstpost reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on Firstpost.